Hi, I'm April. I'm a music teacher and singer-songwriter. If you're new here, I post new videos every Wednesday. I do original music, cover songs, and tutorials like this one. So if you do enjoy this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Our topic of the day is how to level up your songwriting. So let's jump right in. Number one is the concept of show and tell. So this is a really common concept in the writing community especially. You'll often hear the advice, show, don't tell. But in songwriting, it's actually a little bit different. We actually like showing and telling. The way this is commonly done in pop music is to show your story in the verses and tell your story in the chorus. When we say tell, we mean just telling the listener what the story is about. So things like, I am happy, or I am angry. Those would be really good tells. Showing can be a little bit harder than telling. So the way that I like to think about showing your story is by focusing in on your senses. We talked a little bit about sense descriptions in my lyric writing video, which I will link here. But the idea is that we want to put our listener in the seat of our protagonist. We want them to feel like they are inside of the immersive world of our song. So if, for instance, you are writing a song about getting drunk and calling your ex, you're not going to write a song that says, I got drunk and called my ex. I guess you could. That's totally a fine way to start your song. But it might actually sound a little bit more interesting if you paint a picture of what it feels like. Talk about the atmosphere of the bar you're in. Talk about the taste of the beer. Talk about how the music is too loud. If you're writing a song about rap battle night, you can talk about how your arms are heavy and your knees are weak. And there's vomit on your sweater already because your mom decided to make spaghetti tonight. God, Mom. If you're talking about how you kissed a girl and you liked it, talk about the taste of her cherry chapstick. Number two is internal rhyme. It's a really common discussion to talk about the ends of our sentences and how our rhymes are actually being laid out. A-B is a really common rhyme scheme. A-A-B-B is also a common rhyme scheme. And if you're really confused about what I mean by that, think about it like A is your first set of rhyming words, B is your second set of rhyming words. So for instance, if the ends of your sentences are cat, bat, dog, log, it would be A-A-B-B. But if you did cat, dog, bat, log, that would be A-B-A-B. And while that is a really good and really important place to start with your actual rhyme scheme, it's a little more interesting to dive a little deeper. We're going to actually use something called internal rhyming, which is a really common thing in places like poetry and rap, because those are both very rhythmic and lyric-centric art forms. So the example I'm going to use is from the musical Hamilton by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and the example I'm using is from the song Non-Stop. Corruption's such an old song that we can sing along in harmony, and nowhere is it stronger than in Albany. This colony's economy is increasingly stalling, and honestly, that's why public service seems to be calling me. And the crowd goes wild. So the reason that this particular lyric is just so good that it actually is physically painful is he actually takes the individual consonants and vowels and then reuses them throughout the lyric. What this does is that it creates a pattern in our ear that we're almost not noticing, but it just makes the lyric run a lot smoother. So as you can see right here, I've shown the exact syllables that are repeated. So just one of many examples here is the sound all. We first hear this syllable with corruption's such an old song that we can sing all along, all, right? We then hear it again with Albany, and then with colony's economy is increasingly stalling. And honestly, that's why public service seems to be calling me. So we get that syllable repeated a whole bunch of times throughout that lyric. Do you want to see what's happening on my keyboard? You can hear that again with the k syllable, with corruption, colony, economy, calling me. And the funny thing is about this particular lyric, that it actually follows, on paper, an A-A-A-A structure. We get harmony, Albany, honestly, calling me, which really does feel like A-A-A-A, even if they are a little bit slant rhymey. We still get that E sound at the end of every line. A slant rhyme, for those of you who don't know, is a rhyme that sounds like it rhymes, but it doesn't fully. So a full rhyme would be cat, bat. But a slant rhyme could just use that a syllable. So it could be bat, cab. But they still sound enough alike that we're not really going to notice all that much. Number 3 is, of course, practice. It is so very important to practice. While practicing your instrument and your voice and your poetry is all super important, and that is all contributing so very much to this process, it is also really important to practice just the art of songwriting as it is. So some good ways to practice that would be improvising. So you could do things like, I'm gonna write a song about whatever comes along. I'm just making this up right now, so I guess we'll see how it turns out. Scatting is a really good way to practice your melodic writing. You can also use it to practice improvising in general, which can help you eventually if you want to start just making lyrics up on the spot. And you can, of course, improvise on an instrument, whatever feels fun and exciting for you, or whatever it is that you play. You can practice by analyzing other people's work. I know that I spent like my entire teenage life on lyric analyzing websites, just like digging into Bright Eyes. This is the first day of my life. And of course, you can practice as often as you can by actually going ahead and writing songs, or even writing pieces of songs or writing outlines for songs. All of those things are amazing things to practice. I like to practice as often as I can, and sometimes that means every day, but sometimes it means that I'm really worn out at the end of the day and I can't force myself to do it. But I always try to find ways that I can practice aspects of my songwriting. But the thing is, if you miss a day, don't worry yourself too much. Don't let your anxiety about it get the better of you and make you fall off the horse of songwriting completely. Here I am making a songwriting video and using cliches. Number 4 is prosody. Prosody is like my favorite topic when it comes to teaching songwriting because it's all about how your melody and harmony interact with your lyrics. And that is the thing that makes songwriting such a unique and cool art form. Prosody is also a word that exists in poetry, and it's really similar. In both poetry and songwriting, it is about form and content being best friends, or not. So there are a bajillion songs out there in which the prosody lines up perfectly. A lot of the time when you hear a love song, it's a pretty ballad. And a lot of the time when you hear a song about getting pumped up and excited, it is upbeat and it's engaging and it's something that you actually want to go run on a treadmill to. That's why that Hamilton song or the Eminem song we talked about earlier are both so awesome and so engaging, because those songs take content that is all about being in a really anxious or excited mind frame, and then they use the actual melody and speed of the song and the dynamics of the song and all of those great things to actually blend those things together, and that's a really cool thing. But that is also why some songs get kind of lost in translation. A wonderful example of this is Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen. The reason it's such a great example is that this is a song about a war veteran coming home to America and feeling like he doesn't belong or like he's displaced or like his country doesn't care about him. And yet, because it's so upbeat and so much fun, and he's like, born in the USA, it's played at like political rallies, which feels crazy because that's not what the song is about at all. But it's because of that miscommunication of prosody that it's almost like a surprise. So you can use that to your advantage if you do want to break off the prosody. That's another reason why comedy songs work so well, because if you're singing a song like this, it kind of feels like it's gonna be sad. But if you write about puppy dogs and ice cream sandwiches, it's really surprising, and it can come across as really funny. Where did ice cream sandwiches come from? Reversing prosody is really fun to play around with if you're covering a song too. And that's why so many song covers can sound really different if you put them in a minor key or if you change up the way it actually sounds. So for instance, the Cardigans' Love Fool. Love me, say that you love me. So it could be really fun to take that and put it in a minor key. Love me, say that you love me. Fool me, go on and fool me. Love me, pretend that you love me. Leave me, say that you need me. And then it's like a totally different song because you've taken a really, really exciting, fun, upbeat song that has kind of ambiguous lyrics and you've just totally changed it, which makes it really compelling as a cover for someone who's always heard it a certain way. Minor chords don't always sound sad, major chords don't always sound happy. A lot of the time they do, but it's also subjective and it's about context. So keep that in mind. Number 5 is just a piece of good advice when you're songwriting. Be a songwriter first and an editor second. You can spend all the time in the world going through each individual piece of your song. You can nitpick, you can pull things apart, you can change things all you want. But when you're actually in the middle of the writing process, don't be afraid to just let everything that comes out come out. It will make you a better songwriter to dig and dig and dig until you find the gold. Another cliche. It's really hard to not judge yourself in the moment, and I know that I struggle with that all the time, but it will really benefit your songwriting to let all that bad stuff come out, because it's really fun to write bad music and make it better. Every songwriter in the world has written terrible songs, and even if they don't show it to you, they exist. So don't be too hard on yourself. I've written terrible music in the past, and so has everybody. So I want you to focus in on writing the best stuff you can, but leave that editor behind for the moment and just bring them in at the last minute to help you polish your music and make it sound the best that it can. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, a comment, share it with your friends, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Hi.